this is pretty important. Make sure that you are listening, and we'll have more information coming out within the next week or so about some of this. So starting off, let's talk about highlights. So highlights have been something that have been a mess lately. I think that we can all agree that it's just been a mess of a feature. And so highlights originally were created for something that would be some type of 5 to, maybe more like 1 to 5 minute clip of something that, happened that you thought was funny. So they started out as that. Then we moved to the chapter system, and then ended up removing the restriction on the amount of time that you could highlight. People ended up highlighting their entire past broadcasts, which weren't necessarily good uses of the highlight feature. So then, also when deploying some of the updates to our video system, it ended up breaking highlight creation. So thus we had to remove the creation of highlights. We ended up taking a look into some of the data. We were really curious on highlight usage, how many people were actually watching highlights. We were looking at some of the data, and we found that a very, very, very small percentage of users were actually watching highlights. And so we looked at things like highlight usage and the viewing of it. It was actually costing us much more money to be storing this content for something that's never being watched. Most highlights in the system, we ran a check and found that almost all of them, most of the newer ones have just 0 viewers. It's just something that's not working at all. And so unfortunately, it's something that we are going to be removing. And so all of the highlights that were created in the past are going to be something that's going to be removed. Nidrak, in terms of no counts showing up on the highlights for years, we're actually looking at some of the data that's built into the page. And so yes, the counter on the highlights, it has been broken in terms of the counter that you're seeing, but we have data that looks at the actual when you load the page of a highlight. So yes, unfortunately, the highlight feature is something that is... I'm a broadcaster myself. I have a lot of highlights, and so I understand that there can be some frustration over it, but it's something that is just not being used much. So we're looking into ways of being able to download your highlights and be able to have a downloaded version of them. And so if that's something that you are interested in, definitely feel free to send me a message, and I'll keep you updated on that once we have more information. But it's something that we're probably not going to be removing next week. So we're working on some communication and some better information as to how to back that content up. So. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading. Yes, indeed, Nidrak, all the older highlights are going to be removed. Storage costs, a lot of storage is being used for the highlights, and so it's something that, when looking at the logistics of cost and how much it's actually being used, like I said, a very, very small percentage of people are viewing highlights, and a lot of the highlights that are being created have little to none views. So, I guess I could try and pull up those statistics. I'm not even sure what the email was titled, but yeah, we've been focusing on a lot of looking at these features and figuring out what's being used and what's not being used. So check out what happens when you're trying to view past broadcasts. Yeah, Mike Paulus, that's something that we agree. It would be nice to be able to download your shows, and so we do have a ticket out that should be hopefully deployed next week that will give you the ability to download it. So once that's deployed, once you click the settings gear that's located right beneath the video player, you'll have a download button, and then you'll be able to download that. So I agree with you. The reason that we're offering storage in our packages is because those are paid packages. So of course, if you were paying for storage, we'll give you storage, of course. So there will still be storage within the premium packages. So you're paying for it, and so it's something that we're going to provide. But unfortunately, for the free, when looking at the amount of people that are actually watching highlights, it's becoming too much to maintain. And it's just lots of storage and lots of maintenance costs. So yeah, Mike, in terms of that link that Carlitos just posted, I'm not sure if that's working for broadcasts that are over 30 minutes. This tool is going to be able to allow you to download the 30-minute chunks. So, Sensitized, I've been hearing a lot about this, and it's not broken for me. And so I feel that you might be using some type of some kind of add-on that's manipulating Justin.tv, but I haven't seen this myself. So if you have add-ons such as maybe Better JTV or Extreme JTV, try just disabling that and see if the issue still persists, just because I'm seeing it fine on my end. Bartfart, again, I'm not saying that, so I'm not sure exactly why.